Welcome to the Foray Music Podcast. I'm Charlie.
I'm Alexandria.
I'm Amy.
On this week's pod, a timeline of African American music, Silk Sonic sexually bowing out of the Grammy consideration, instruments with chaotic auras, new music, and more.
First off, what's new? What's on y'all's mind?
I went to a cool open mic. It was in Harlem, and it was at someone's house, which was cool. And it was like they had the whole like tech setup going on with like recording, but it was very chill, which I liked, and everyone was really nice. It was kind of like a pop scene, one of those like, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, oh. But like in a cool way. You know what I mean? But it was cool. It was like I sang an original, and that was exciting because then it just made me a little more inspired to like work on it.
If you haven't already, check out Amy Azzara on all streaming platforms.
Or sure. I hate that. I'm always like, don't look at me, don't look at me. But no, it's fun, and everyone was super like kind, and it was the first time I had been in like a new group environment where people were trying to meet each other since college. So it was exciting for me. I felt like a little awkward, but I did my best.
Hi, my name's Amy. I know how to socialize.
I'm like, ugh. But it was cool.
I feel that.
That's cool. Were people like playing instruments, or was it like tracks and stuff? Or
It was instruments. It was like a piano, and then they had a DI for bass and guitar and stuff like that. So it was mostly duos, but they did have like a couple mics. So there were some cool like vocal duo trio moments as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was kind of a mix of things.
Have either of you been to like a rent party? Like
No.
Do you know what that is, or what?
No.
Yeah, like people pay, and then you can pay rent by the end of the
you
party.
pay your rent, yeah.
Oh my
like
gosh.
People will like. Well, usually it's like there's like music happening or something, or there'll be like beer
by the
or
end,
something. But like you come in and you just give like $10 or whatever you can give, and you come in and people are playing, and it's like a party, but like you almost kind of do like a cover, and then they use that to like pay the rent, or sometimes it's just to pay for beer or something, but.
That's smart.
That is.
Yeah,
I went to a few of those when I was in New York. It was cool.
Really? I wanted. I would be down to go. This was weirdly free. I was like, how is this free? I don't know. Like there was food there, so I was like, shouldn't I be like? Anyway,
the best things in life are free.
Best things in life are free.
That sounds like a quote. Anyway,
I think it
is. It's a song, I
is.
think. It's a song.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so anyway.
Yeah, I think it is. Anyways,
what's on?
I guess I'll go. I had my first gig playing piano and singing, and that was surprisingly very hard. I have a newfound respect for people who can do that. Yeah, Charlie.
Yeah.
He's not here, but Peter Eldridge. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And like Diana Krall. I'm like, oh, you guys have a lot of thinking going on here.
Yeah.
So that was fun, and yeah, I would do it again just to like push myself to practice piano one, and then to really I don't know, like some of those pop tunes, like you have to really know the form.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was like, oh, do I actually go here, or what am I doing right here? This bridge, maybe. Okay, here we go. Bridge.
Yeah.
But to really like know the forms of tunes, and yeah, I don't know, I really enjoyed it.
How long was it? How long was the gig? The piano thing?
That was 3 hours. Yeah, 6 to 9, 3 sets.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Did you take breaks?
Yeah, 15-minute breaks, which was nice. So I did 45 minutes and 15-minute break, 45 minutes. 15,
a lot of the pop stuff, you almost have to like know the piano part, because like it doesn't sound right without like the Like, you know what I mean? Like it
No,
doesn't
you
sound
are
Yeah.
with like
correct.
some of like the Elton John stuff or some of that stuff. It's like it's like, oh, okay, that's what song it is. But it's
Billy
like
Joel too.
there's Billy Joel stuff where it's like if you it sounds it's like a totally different scene if you kind of like have the part in some fake
Yeah.
book or something. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for some of the tunes, like I actually learned like the intros because that was like Can We Talk? Like
Hmm.
that had like a pretty iconic intro. Like I Want to Dance with Somebody, like pretty iconic intro. I was like, I should probably learn these, and I definitely flubbed, but like they knew the intention was
I love
there.
that.
they got the gist of it.
Yeah.
Were people? Was it like a listening gig? Were people listening?
Yeah, people were listening actually. Like it was
Aw.
at a restaurant, but people were listening. Like a few people came up and like talked to us.
That's cool.
There's one couple, they just like sat right in front of us and like listened the whole time. The dude man person was really digging it, and the woman person, she dug some songs but not all of them. But so, it was really funny if someone played it. Like I played I don't want no scrubs, the scrub
Yeah.
can. Everybody knew that song. Almost everybody brought a tip after I started singing that
Are
song.
you serious?
Yo, it's hilarious. I was like, oh, if I play like no scrubs each time, will I get more tips?
Imagine that becomes like your like send off. You're like,
Yeah.
see you
It's like
guys.
Every set.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, it was a good gig. What about you, Charlie? What's been up in Charlie World?
Well, I've been thinking. Well, I've been trying to kind of like get into the Halloween vibe. So I've been thinking about Halloween songs. So we're probably in our probably next week. I think we're going to be doing our like Foray, which is maybe news for both of you. But next week, I think we're gonna do our Foray Halloween kind of like spooky
vibes.
songs. So I've been kind of
Yay.
thinking about all that. But yeah, I just like the season. I think it's great. There's like a lot going on. It's like kind of overwhelming a little bit, but yeah, it's cool. There's just a lot going on. Like basketball season started. There's like
Oh,
stuff coming
yeah.
out. I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I wanted to put out there too. Anybody's listening to this, if you have favorite Halloween songs or like spooky songs or any of that kind of stuff, hit us up. Let us know. In the comments and all that kind of stuff. Let us know on Instagram. I think tomorrow we're going to be putting up a little question like poll kind of situation for people to list their favorite Halloween songs, and we're going to do that thing. But yeah, that was like a very inside baseball Foray stuff, but I've been thinking about that a lot. Like the leaves are changing. It's all cool.
Yeah, the foliage is beautiful.
Oh yes.
Not really in the city, no offense. But I
Correct.
went to the Adirondacks and also Connecticut, and both of those places were astounding.
Yeah, I'm on my train rides,
I bet.
and I'm like, ooh.
Is Boston foliagey?
Some places. Yeah, like Jamaica Plain, you can see some nice foliage. Yeah. Anyways,
Probably Cambridge is great. Okay, cool. Should we hop into the newsletter?
yes, let's do it.
Okay, our first A for this week was a timeline of African American music from Carnegie Hall. So in particular, this is soprano Jessie Norman and Dr. Portia Maltzby. I think that's pretty close to probably how I've never said that out loud before. Who's a musicologist and a scholar. As part of a festival that took place in 2009, they started developing this kind of this timeline of African American music, and it's in a really cool place right now. So it's like an interactive like website where you can go in and like click on different genres and different sorts of things and like hear recordings and like see how it's like all connected to each other and all of that kind of stuff. So I've actually been. I think I saw this maybe a month ago or something. I've kind of been sitting on it and just kind of like waiting for a break in some of the other news to to maybe kind of bring it up and talk about it. But I think it's really cool, and it's a really great resource. I also do think it's probably flawed slightly, just in terms of every time we talk about genre things, we're kind of missing something, or we're making some assumptions, or whatever that kind of stuff is. And I think probably there are people in working actively in some of these genres that have been ostensibly like killed by the timeline. Like I think one of the funny things that stuck out to me like right away was that free jazz avant-garde like goes until the end of the 70s and then it's gone. And it's just kind of like, that's kind of funny to me. Like, and then it doesn't go anywhere. And it's like kind of funny to me because it's like, well, I don't know, if you walk into any conservatory in America, I think like avant-garde jazz or free jazz is like alive and well. It's like, and I also know like a lot of my contemporaries and people that are doing things that it's like, they're playing stuff that's pretty contemporary, or that's pretty avant-garde, I would say. Like a lot of like the new music that's coming out of the people that are identifying as jazz musicians, like it's pretty avant-garde. And the only jazz category in the timeline that's like still going is traditional jazz, which I think is kind of funny. Yeah, that's the one that like goes to the 2020s. The other one stops. So like jazz, hip hop fusion ends at the end of the 2010s. Jazz fusion ends at the end of the 1990s. So I think my primary criticism of the timeline is that like stuff stops on it. And some of the stuff it makes sense because it's kind of been eaten up by bigger categories, but I would just probably kind of just keep a lot of that stuff going.
Or even if they wanted to make the color like less vibrant or something. I don't know.
I don't know if it's going like by amount of streams or something. I don't know. I would just keep a lot. Like I think jazz fusion is still happening. Like Pat Metheny is out there still like selling out big rooms, playing basically jazz fusion, but also traditional jazz, but also like avant-garde stuff, but also kind of smooth jazz. And like those are all things that have kind of gone away. It's kind of interesting too, like neo soul ends at the neo soul line kind of stops before the 2010s, which is kind of shocking to me, because I have a lot of students that are like super into neo soul and are making brand new neo soul. So it's just kind of interesting. Like I think, we can kind of have some of this conversation, but it's like,
wait, and R&B stopped too?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like I think like I've heard a lot of people say something to the effect that like pop music now is really hip hop. It's like really, that's kind of like maybe one of the better, clearer ways to describe it. I don't know if that's how you all feel. I feel like hip hop is like really dominant, culturally and musically and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I think there is also pop music like that feels just like pop,
Yeah.
I also feel like I don't have a good sense of what people know because of liking musicians that are maybe not like past like the musician radar or something like that. Like sometimes I'll name someone that I thought everyone knew, and then like someone who's not really that into music will be like, "Who?" And then I get confused because like a lot of what I listen to is so much like original songwriter, like sort of like such a mix of like so many different things.
Yeah, and well, and like part of why genres and stuff were important a few years ago, like in the radio age, I think about like why genres are important because that would kind of determine what was on different stations and on different like radio shows and stuff. And then it started to be kind of like it was important because it was like that's, at least for some things, like that might be where it was going to be in the record store or the CD store or something, like in Best Buy. It's like, oh, here's all the hip hop stuff or something, or here's like rock or whatever. But it's like once we are in this like, kind of purely completely digital world, then it's like even playlists aren't as much like broken up that way anymore. I think about like how people are finding new music and stuff. It's kind of like there's all this like metadata. So like if someone listens to Amy, if someone listens to your EP, right? Like there would be metadata that would be like this and this and this and this, and there might be like 20 bits of data, and like one of those things might connect to like a jazz artist, but one of them might connect to like a folky poppy thing or something, or a singer songwriter thing, or like someone that's doing stuff with piano in it, or you know what I mean? And it's like
Yeah.
there's kind of this like post genre world that we're kind of living in, but we're still like holding on to these terms as a way to like talk about it with each other and to like get some handle on the vast amount of music that's out there.
Yeah.
I think humans tend to do that with everything that we can't really understand. Is like we try to put everything in a box. Like we do that with a lot of things. I don't, nothing is coming to my mind right now. But like, even if like we have to say, oh, this person is carnivorous, or this person is omnivorous, this person is herbivorous, like, it's like, okay, cool. Why does it matter? Or like,
I think it happens a lot with like people's tendencies too, or something like that. Or like,
or
well, I'm
this,
an introvert.
Yeah, or I'm an extrovert, or well,
I'm not an introvert.
or you know what I mean? It's such like compartmentalization, compartmentalization,
compartmentalized, yeah.
In order to somewhat understand maybe what's going on, because we can't understand.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. Honestly, like I think the place where I feel problematic with some of this categorizing that happens is when it feels like limiting or something, like it, like it's one thing. It's like, oh, this is kind of helpful, but maybe it's not possible to have one and not the other. Like maybe it's just going to be inevitable that it's kind of almost like safety things where it's like, oh, you're going to feel less freedom to do everything you want to do, but if you want to be safe, it's like, oh, like seatbelts or something, It's like, oh, like I don't want to wear my seatbelt. Oh, okay, whatever, but it's like it for the to have at least some amount of safety. It's like, well, we need to have some of this, and you're less free to like move about the cabin or something, or like roll around in your car, or whatever. But there's like some trade-off with there's like some good, some bad of it. And ultimately with this timeline, I think it's like really important work, and it's really cool. And I'm sure that they have like been really thoughtful about it, and that they would be open to, some of these things, and they're just trying to probably keep it clear as possible and not just have everything like start in like the 1900s and then just like at 1900 and then just everything. And it's like, it's maybe less helpful that way.
Yeah, it's almost like the beginning of the lines are more important than maybe the end or something.
Yeah, or like the
connections between.
They can give like a description of why or what they're looking for.
Right. And if you do click on any one of these genres, like it goes to pictures, and it goes to examples of artists, and it goes to recordings, and it goes to explanation and stuff. So it's like, really the timeline is just a beginning point. But like, this is kind of like textbooks where it's like people read a history textbook and they think like that's like the whole story.
Yeah.
And like everyone agrees with that. You know what I mean? That there's no debate about what that thing is. And it's like, and this is kind of like that too, where it's like you see the thing and you're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to memorize that, and that's the truth. And it's like, well, I'm sure if we talk to somebody who is like primarily like an R&B artist or something like that, they would like look at this and be like, what is that? Like what, like did disco really end in the 1980s or whatever? Because like I just in an ensemble today, I had a student play a disco song that's like by Harry Styles, and it's like that's disco. It's like we're doing disco stuff, and it's like so yeah. But I thought it was just a cool thing to highlight, and to have conversations about, and just like people are memorizing like the canon of like old white European composers. I hope that we're also kind of like looking at this and like talking about this, and this is getting shared around and all that kind of stuff. So that's my A for the week. What our next A had to do with had to do with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak.
Yes. I found this really interesting. I like came across this and I was like, huh. And then I said, this is my A for the week. Basically, they're not submitting their album to the Grammys. They already won Grammys on this album, which this confused me. Is I guess it's just like it overlapped in the circuit. Is that what's going on here? Basically, they won. Too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Basically, they've gotten like some. They basically swept at the last Grammys. Like they were the people of the night. I mean, rightfully so. The album is like insane. Such a cool collaboration. And I think this move is like pretty badass. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Just because I think it's super humble, and I don't super see that a ton. I don't think like I just feel like even if it's not a bad thing, people are just always so in their own lane and like trying to get the thing and doing the next thing and having the whatever. And so I think this is a really cool move because not only does it kind of make room for other artists to be like featured and celebrated, and like getting a Grammy is a big deal. So it kind of opens like that opportunity for those people. It's also just, I just think it's like a selfless move on their part. Cause like, there's no reason why they couldn't submit and like keep winning and all these things. And to me, I think that's cool because it means that their intention like transcends whatever credit or like, what is the word for awards? Like accolades? Yeah. Accolades that they could receive from it.
Yeah. And to clarify, so this is Silk Sonic, the Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak. I did like a very weird intro about that, but
sorry, I also Sonic. Didn't say.
So what the thing is they won for the song "Leave the Door Open."
Yeah.
So they won Song of the Year, Best R&B Song, and Best R&B Performance. They also won Record of the Year, which is I think like when you do a single, it's kind of like the old way. It was
still about the song.
Yeah, it was like. Because when you do the single, I think the old way is like, oh, that's a record with like an A side and a B side kind of a thing, like the single for that. So I think that's what they won. And then they decided that they're not going to submit the whole Silk Sonic album for album of the year, R&B album, all of that kind of stuff. But they were technically, because like I think the single came out in time for last year's Grammys.
Oh,
and then the
sense.
album came
there
out
it is.
like full album released in time for like this year, like the 2023 Grammys thing. So they're like, no, we're cool. They're like, the vibe we got for Leave the Door Open was like enough like for us. But they also like worded it really funny. Like,
oh my God, hilarious.
So Bruno Mars said, Silk Sonic would like to gracefully, humbly, and most importantly, sexually bow out of submitting our album this year.
I love them.
Yeah, it's very endearing. It's also very on brand for Silk Sonic.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I don't know. How do you all feel about like the Grammys in general, or the Grammys specifically, but just kind of like these kind of awards and stuff? Like,
that's so hilarious. Oh no, because what's his face? Robert Glasper just posted. I held up a phone to my ear.
You talked to Robert Glasper on the
phone? No, he posted something on Instagram like where he was like acting like he was on the phone, like for his 4-year consideration post, and he was like talking about, all, like the contradiction that most, or the, what's the word that starts with an H? Wow. Not hypochondriac.
Hyperbole?
No. Hypocrite. That's the word. Hypocrite. You can see where my brain is. But he was like saying, yeah, it's all about the music, blah, blah, blah. Like typical hippie musician answers to like what people think. And then like as he's doing this, he's like, oh yeah, like holds up note cards that one says like "I heart the Grammys," like "I love awards," and then he holds up his like Black Radio 3 note card like "Vote, please vote for me" type
Wow.
thing, where it's like, well, there's this like weird thing
Dichotomy?
where like maybe we don't really care about Grammys all that much because we know it's like highly politicized, but at the same time, like validation from getting a Grammy is like astronomical. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still figuring that out.
Same. That's where I've been because I also same with competitions. I'm like, dang it, they really do seem to help people. Not that I'm like anti-competition. I just haven't like. I think it's a separate thing to get in that grind of like releasing on time or submitting on time and like the type of circuit. It's just not like very. It's just like it's like a grind part of the industry rather than the music part. It's like the business part rather than the music part of it. So I just sometimes am like, dang, people cool. I don't know. I don't know. I think that Grammys are cool though.
If you get one, it's so cool, but like,
But it is so
within yourself, you're like,
politicized.
wow, this is, you know,
Just that. This is, and then a cackle.
For the people listening on, on the podcast, there was no visual thing. There
No.
it was just, And then
No, I think what you're saying is like, I don't have fully formed thoughts about it because it's all just kind of stymieing to me. I'm like, this is cool, but weird, but nice. And
Yeah.
what?
like if you have in the like, let's say in the jazz piano category, you have Keith Jarrett, and then
I don't think there's a jazz piano category in the Grammys, by the way.
There isn't.
I think there's
There
like
isn't.
a jazz instrumental or something, or
yeah,
like
I
But what
just
were you
made it
gonna
up
say?
just to be non-problematic, unproblematic. Like, let's say you had Keith Jarrett, and then you had
Martin?
Martin Bejarano, and then you had Danilo Perez, and then you had let's say Sean Mason, new young guy. Who are you gonna give the Grammy to? And of course, everybody has seen Keith Jarrett's name for the past 40 years. So if you're a voter and you said, "Oh yeah, I voted for Keith before," it's just like a regular election. Oh yeah, incumbent. Like I've seen their name before.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
I don't know. That's how I perceive some of them. It's like if jazz voice is kind of weird because every jazz saxophone. It's like Coltrane against like
Me.
Kenny
Like-
Garrett.
Kenny
Yeah,
Garrett.
By the way, I think the voice Grammy thing is like pretty weird all the time. Like, I think the only one I could get
Yikes.
behind really is like probably Kurt Elling winning so many of those or something. And just because it was like he was really dominant like at that time when he was doing that. But and he still is, I guess. But he won a few in a row.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
The cackle and then the sigh.
Yeah, I mean, so explicitly, my personal view about awards and all this kind of stuff is I think they're super lame. I hate all of it, but I recognize that it's like a part of the game or something. It's part of the biz. I think there's like a privilege to or something to like not caring about them or something, or like not hustling for them, because it's like, so if you're famous enough or you have enough money to have like a publicist and the record label is like pushing the thing, like they're doing all the hustling for that. Like Taylor Swift doesn't have to say anything about it. She's not making Instagram posts like vote for me, blah blah blah. But like jazz musicians and like people that are maybe more in the middle bracket of things, where it's like their album is legitimately being considered, but they don't. They're paying for themselves to go to the Grammys, and they have to like pay for their clothes, and they're hustling to try to get attention. It's like, well, it kind of makes sense as part of the game. It also, for me, is like a musician and a fan of music and a fan of these people. It's kind of to me, it actually feels like slightly sad to see these to see Instagram posts like, you know, consider my blah blah blah, and I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
ugh. You know, like, um, you know, I didn't even know you. I follow you, and I'm a fan or something. I didn't even know you had an album out until right now. You know, and it's like
Wow.
Yeah.
maybe it would have been. Maybe there's a different way to do that or something.
But that's the interesting thing too. This is a different thing, but I've been seeing this poster for that movie with Julia Roberts and another famous other people. Anyway, that crashed and burned. But I've been seeing it everywhere, and I'm like, dang it! Like marketing really does work, but they have that. Like it's just such a hard thing to start doing, unless what you're saying, like unless you have like a ton of bread or like you're already
Yeah.
famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like these like shape shifted, like, you know.
Yeah. It's
Vote
all
for
this, it's
me.
kind of like it's a big kind of game. It's like a big Ponzi scheme in some ways because it's like all this stuff. All of it is so tricky. Like, oh yeah, you can't get booked at this venue unless you already have a million Instagram followers or something. It's like, how are you supposed to get a million Instagram followers? Or, you know, like you know, are you going to pay money to promote your new album on Instagram and Facebook and stuff? And it's like, I think we've talked about this before. I think like 80% of all marketing is like dollars goes through two companies, Google and Meta, or like Google and Facebook, you know? And it's like, and then there's one award show really in town, like the Grammys, that like sucks up a lot of oxygen. And there are things like Downbeat and like jazzes and all that kind of stuff. Like there are things like that, and I think that stuff matters. But yeah, it feels weird that it's like I just wish there were kind of more games or like more opportunities and more games and all that kind of, you know, like more games to
Yeah,
play,
not just like
more.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is true.
But that's kind of where we are right now. It's like the big fish. Big fish are like sucking up all the oxygen.
Yeah.
Speaking
That's why I
of,
love when. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. That's
No, I
what
was
do you
gonna say
love?
that's when I love when artists who are big kind of do the thing where they like put their arm around someone that they know in real life that maybe has a smaller audience. I think that can be like a really cool, like organic move by people,
Yeah, like
like
people
with collabs and stuff.
finding someone else on Instagram or like that
Yeah.
they like, and then it's like,
And,
oh,
like,
come
promoting
do
them.
a few shows on the tour, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
that like
Yeah, like
open up for
headlining,
some things.
opening. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Opening,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. Should we talk about TikTok now?
Oh yeah.
We didn't mention TikTok. TikTok's also in the game, and
Oh my god.
like in really good ways and in not so good ways. I mean, it's actually kind of along the same lines. So Alexandria, what's up with TikTok?
So I was just like doing my usual midnight scroll through the TikTok. And I came across this video. I don't know if y'all were in the time of Vine, but I was
just missed
definitely
No, I
really-
actually didn't miss it, but I wasn't cool. Anyway, what?
I was
No, I just
definitely
didn't.
alive, but I was
Dang, I'm the only
I think
Viner.
No. I think I was in like middle school, and everyone had Vine, but I didn't have a phone.
Where's the chapstick? Anyways. So I remember this guy, Aaron, went viral on Vine for the Golden Girls theme song. Thank you for being a friend. Ba-da-da-da-da, yeah. Yeah, that one. So I was like, okay, so I see him again. Well, actually, the first thing, my mother sends me this TikTok of it looks like a homeless man is singing or lip singing, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Alex, he has such a great voice." And I was like, "Mom, this is not his voice. Yeah, you have to like press the sound, and then it leads you to the original video." And so, anyways, I was scrolling, and Aaron shows up and is like, he's a little upset that people are posting his sound from the Golden Girls theme song, but they're not giving him credit for it. They're just kind of like renaming the sound and like taking the credit for it. And I like was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Or like somebody would be lip syncing to his sound, and like in the comments it'll be like, oh my gosh, you have such a beautiful voice, and the the person will reply, "Thank you," and I'm like, "Really? The audacity to reply thank you for a voice that isn't even your own."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh." Like TikTok has been like a great place for some artists. Like it's launched so many people's careers that we know, like Kat Burns, Olivia Rodrigo, Limpade, I think her name is. Even Samara Joy, like she has such a huge following on TikTok. But at the same time, it's like Thundercat has a chokehold on TikTok right now with them changes. Like has an absolute chokehold on TikTok, and I'm sure none of them know who Thundercat is.
Yeah.
Or few,
You know,
or something.
or few know who Thundercat is, or like.
But I see what you're saying. It just turns into this like, oh,
It's
haha, we're
sound,
doing
yeah.
this thing.
It's
Rather
like it's
than
and sometimes like the sound, people are lip syncing to the sound. People don't have the time to check out who actually created the sound. So it's like, I hate. I don't want to sound too harsh, but like erasure seems like the word that I came up with is just like erasure of like the artist within that entity. Like I'm posting it. How am I like gonna lip sync over somebody else's voice, then take credit for it? That's like erasure in definition.
yeah.
You're like literally taking that person away, taking away that person's artistry and whatever. So I've been battling TikTok in my brain. And like how can it be this like great space for creators, for people to be weird and great, but have that, and other people enjoy that same, enjoy it with them, but at the same time recognize, hey, this is like their own like intellectual property and all these, that, and the third. I hope I made sense, but yes.
You did.
I don't know. Maybe they'll put the sound in a different place on the screen, or like put it in a different color that's more eye-catching so they can understand that it's not, this person doing something. But yeah. Thank you, TikTok,
Yeah.
but no thank you, TikTok.
Yeah, I think there are probably a lot of things at play here. Part of it is that so like YouTube is like very hardcore about this, where
Oh my
it's like if there's
God. Yeah.
any audio that's like from another thing, it's like as you're uploading it, it's like, by the way,
Copyright claim. Yeah.
there are we have copyright feelings about this. Lawyers have said, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And like I think part of that is like legitimately, or I'm not a lawyer, let me say that, but I think like part of this is Google's an American company. TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company, and China is like super doesn't care about American intellectual property, like aggressively doesn't care about intellectual property from other countries. And so there could be some of that in play, but there's this other element that's that I've read about recently, and I wish I could cite my source on this, but I don't remember. But basically that like in like the digital culture, like online, it's actually, people actually feel like it's more credible what they're saying if they pretend like they came up with the idea and they don't cite their sources. Like they're not citing sources, they're just like, here's the stuff. It doesn't matter where it came from, like this is just the thing. Which is the opposite of like academia, where in academia, like, well, first of all, your teachers make you do this stuff, but it actually makes you look much more credible if you can cite your sources, because then you put yourself in this club. Like
Yeah.
once you cite so and so, like you cite David Icke or something in a paper, then it's like we're in the club now. Like look at us, we're scholars. Like we're together.
Yes.
I read his paper or their book or whatever that is, and on page 97, this is what it says. You can go look it up. You can check the receipts.
And he stamps it too.
And
yeah.
he stamps it too.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, and his thing is also cited, and you can go back you can go back to the whole train. And that's in academia, and that's in written print, and that's kind of like the old model. But in digital model, what they talk like what certain people have talked about is that like actually doing the opposite of that is seen as having more credibility. Like to not cite sources, to not talk about where things are from, to just be like, here's the deal, like blah blah blah. I said this. This is my thing.
Oh my gosh. So what if I like posed as like, what if I bought some scrubs and I was like, oh, I know everything about fingernails. And I just told people how to cut their fingernails. People would believe me. And I'm just like, oh, but really, I'm like a musician.
It
Yeah,
says so
of
much
course.
about like the sheep nature of people. Because not a lot of people, I don't think, really think, whoops, that was maybe a little bit high horse. I should probably relax about that. But you know what
You're
I
like,
mean? There's
no
a lot.
one thinks about anything ever.
No, no. But I do see people just take things in or like take it in and put it back out again. And it's like, wait a second. Where was your brain in there? Did you like put it through any filters?
Oh my gosh.
Well, there's so much.
Can I try that? Can I just try putting on a scrub and telling people how to cut their fingernails? Oh yeah, I'm a fingernail
guess so.
expert.
It's funny that's
Why
your
do I
first
feel like that
idea.
would take off?
Like you're like, I have an evil plan, and it's about fingernails.
Fingernails.
I mean, but but like there's like a lot of versions of this too, like headlines for stories, right? In like the papers and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
on like news websites. Headlines are always really important, but now they're most of what people read. Like most people will spend, like most people just read the headlines. Like you go to New York Times and you just scroll through and you read the headlines and you're like, I read the news. And like not
my
even click on any of the stories. You know what I mean? That's actually like the majority. I think like Axios News was talking about this. This is like a newer kind of news publication, but they were talking about how like how the editor of Axios was like, I used to work for the Washington Post or New York Times or something, and like literally like people would look at the headline and that was it. Like 90 some percent of people like just look at the headline, they don't read the story. And this is like gnarly stuff on Facebook that's happening where people are just posting links to things and people just see the image of the link and they're like, I got it. I know the story now. Like they don't click on it. They don't like figure out what the deal is. This is happening when people report, when journalists report on like academic papers, like scientific papers, you know, and they don't really understand what's happening, but they'll like just cherry pick a little thing and be like, there's life on Mars, you know?
Yeah.
And like
Oh my
people are like, it's possible there could be life on Mars, but we just don't have we're not able to go down deep enough to find the water and see if there's like little bugs in it or something. And it's like, there's news story, like news flash, there's life on Mars. We're not alone, you know? And it's like,
Oh my gosh.
this is just happening constantly. And, there's a lot of work that needs to be done about like digital fluency and like all this kind of stuff. But this is like a distillation of this kind of idea where it's like, yeah, people just think I'm singing the Golden Girls song or something, and I'm not. I'm not. Sorry for that weird like lecture about that.
No, I think it's really interesting.
Yeah. I think most people aren't thinking about this, you know.
Well, it also becomes dangerous in terms of like being able to, well, this sounds a little dark, but deceiving people is so easy. Like autotune, Photoshop now, like lip syncing. It's just like, and it's becoming so accessible. So anybody can just do that.
Like we talked about last time. Amy's like, I was hoping you'd never bring up AI again.
I'm like, get me started. Episode 2.
Just pull the cord, start the engine.
4 hours later, I'm still talking.
Okay, let's talk about some new music this week. This week was a lot of like old friends have returned. The PJ Morton thing that we talked about maybe over the summer a little bit, or in August, I think maybe. And then the Keith Jarrett Bordeaux concert. These things have kind of like fully released, and the PJ Morton thing is a deluxe version, right? That has some
and
extra
it's like
stuff.
stacked.
It's great.
We were talking about this because I don't want to shade him. I love VJ. His website's just like, wait, why don't you have more things promoted? Alex thinks it's because he has his tour dates. So like maybe that is the business move, is what Alex is saying.
But he has links to SoundCloud.
We were like, what is going on? Because then you go to the album and it's like featuring Stevie Wonder, featuring like I mean like a stack of other names. It's like such a killing.
It's like you're giving us
album.
like maybe you're like being humble by sending like links to SoundCloud, but PJ, there's no bio. There's about no contact. No.
It's a great album though.
Great album.
Yeah.
Album's not on.
It's not on his website.
Not on the website.
Can you buy like a
okay,
T-shirt or something?
No.
No merch.
I don't even think you
No
can.
merch.
Yeah, that doesn't really seem like his vibe or something. Like it seems like he's like, yeah, I'm just doing my thing, and like videos will pop up, but it's like you know, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like they promoted the tour. You know, like there was those Instagram videos and stuff that were really cool.
His music videos. You talked about his music videos and the like concepts that he was going through. I think he released like 3 or 4 more too.
Yeah, I think he's definitely
sticking.
doing that scene.
Yeah, and that's all great. And the deluxe version is awesome. The Keith Jarrett thing is cool. I don't know how much more they're going to release of him because like he's done playing now. You know, he had a stroke, and so he doesn't play anymore, and it's kind of not hopeful. And so, but you know, this concert's from 2016, and there's probably a bunch of other stuff in the can, you know, in terms of like stuff they could release. And there's already a ton of stuff out there. I think this concert's slightly notable because it kind of combines some of the colon concert stuff, where it's like a little poppier and like, you know, just pretty nice kind of stuff. And then what he's been releasing more so recently in the last like 5 years with solo piano stuff, which is more avant-garde, I would say. I think we need to call Carnegie Hall and let them know that like there's still
Keith Jarrett
avant-garde stuff. Keith Jarrett. And then the other thing, this was the thing that you guys have probably never heard of, the 1975, that band.
Yes.
No, I haven't.
You have?
Our roommate is obsessed with them.
Oh, okay.
So many people
Yeah.
are. A few of my friends
cool.
have told me about them.
Cool, because I think
But I haven't done a deep dive.
I think this band is super cool. I was listening to this album this last week or so. This is Being Funny in a Foreign Language. That's their new album. Yeah, and I think it's really cool. It's got like a lot of stuff right up my alley. Like a lot of like 80s vibes, like Phil Collins-y. I don't know, like that kind of like musical stuff, but then also like Bon Iver saxophone-y sounds in the background and a lot of weird synthy things. And it's like very upbeat. There's a lot of stuff going on. There was like kind of a Christmas song on it. There's a song that's like wintry or something. And it's like talking about like December 23rd, I think, and like Christmas vibes. And I was like, it's not even Halloween, but I'm here for this. Like,
I'm so here for Christmas.
I'm always like one holiday ahead.
Well, yeah. True.
This happened with you guys. I'm like one holiday ahead. Like it's like I'm like ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'm like, let's go, and it's like not even Halloween yet.
No, I think same.
I still think it's September, so I'm really
I just
far
feel like
behind.
conceptually I like Christmas, like having the tree and like drinking the, you know, hot
the stores
chocolate.
are there. I walked into the store. I said, Christmas. And
That can get annoying because they're like, and
I was really excited because this is like the first time we can like decorate the apartment. So I was like, oh my gosh, like
you
little
already
Christmas
know.
trees. And I was thinking of a little menorah for our other roommate. And I was like, oh my gosh. Anyways, sorry.
Like there's gonna be like a Christmas cow or something somewhere. Probably.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you give me
Like
an
an ornament.
idea,
You need like a cow. You need like a cow ornament.
Wait, we should have a tree with just cow ornaments.
Okay, no, that's too much, even for my cow obsession. But I would love.
That's
for
one
people
too
to
many
like
cows,
it.
Amy.
And like they have a cow with like little jingle bells.
Okay. Anyways, that's kind of the newsletter. We did. We had extra credit this week was Chaotic Instruments. Were any of these like funny to any of you? To either of you? Like, there was the piano without the black keys, and it was like put them back, and then there was like, hi, I'm a mandolin, and then there's a person with a mandolin as a head, and they said, me too. These are all visual gags, so they're not great to describe, but
Check
I
'em
think it's
out.
very Charlie humor.
is it? I don't think
I
all these are
always-
funny, by the way. I was trying to give like a little mixed bag so that people with different senses of humor might like some of these, but
I feel like I always see things like that and go,
eh,
whoops, that was visual. I got to remember what our medium is.
there you go.
I just made
Eh.
a silly face.
It was so silly, everyone. Okay, but anyways, that's a newsletter. Check it out on Substack. Amy, do you want to read us out?
Absolutely. Thank you all for listening and supporting Foray Music. Remember to like and subscribe. And just a note that if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts, it does help us a lot, and we will read your review next week. For more, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Foray Music. Subscribe to our newsletter at foraymusic.substack.com and check out our website at foraymusic.com.
You never
our saying-
know. Oh my gosh! One day I'll get it right.
Okay, I think I need to introduce the saying.
I
Because
agree.
Otherwise, it just seems
It's
it's already
like,
kind of
why-
random, but it just seems like I don't even know what's happening if you just do it. So what's
No,
our
you're
what's
right,
our,
Charlie.
Alexandria? So what's our saying for the week?
You never know. John Legend.
Thanks, Mr. Legend. Okay, we think you're super. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
First off, what's new? What's on your
Oh, what's on your mind?
Alexandria.